Yeah, or even nowadays, people still rocking the OJ jerseys.
I'd rock. Fuck it, dude. That
They'd
one's
be
hard
hot.
because that one's weird and different because you can.
It's a great conversation starter.
With that, welcome back to an episode of Loss of Down. It is a Wally and Steve episode to kick off the legal tampering period here. Before we get into it, Wally, I think we have a great question to talk about. Is it okay to wear an O.J. Simpson football jersey right now? We were just having conversations about football jerseys that go in the graveyard, which you will all be able to, if you were following me on Twitter today, you understand what I'm talking about. If not, just kind of sit tight. You'll be able to figure it out. But a lot of players, when they were playing, did a lot of horrific things. And as we were talking, it's the football graveyard where it's basically a no-no. You're not allowed to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
But is OJ getting the okay?
I don't know. See, it's almost one of those things where OJ's become a joke where people forget about what he did on or what off the field. But then you can make the case. It's like, all right, well, there are guys like Dante Stallworth, Henry Ruggs, Ray Lewis. I mean, he literally
Lewis is the exception. He got off of it. Kobe
True.
Bryant, too. Well, it's not a murder case, but Kobe Bryant was getting floated around there, too.
Marvin Harrison Sr. Like, there's so
right.
many that are like, yeah, dude, he just casually killed a guy, but go my team. So I don't know. I think it's probably foul, but I will say they're kind of just cool. That era of Bills jerseys, really freaking sick.
You obviously, Aaron Hernandez is a no-no. Like Henry Ruggs is a no-no.
Yeah.
Dante Stallworth, as I was saying before, there has to be at most a baker's dozen of Dante Stallworth jerseys being rocked out there, like even before that charge was happening. But like OJ, there was like a 20-year window, 15-year window of his football career versus when that happened. So it's
like, do you
weird.
listen to Ignition by R. Kelly? And it's like, I'm
no,
sorry.
No, I can't.
Oh, see, now I'm going to be the bad guy here. Everybody's going to hate. That song bangs. That song comes on. I'm not turning it off. Ignition?
What's it bang?
Well, I see where you're going. I'm going to try to like tiptoe away from that. But what I will say, that comes up on Friday. Yeah, 13-inch subs and stuff. Friday night, that song comes on. It's hard for me to be like, maybe we skip this one. I'm probably sitting there like quietly jamming in my car. That's all I'm saying. Trust tree. That's the truth.
Well, I know that we can fight and battle about OJ all we want. That's an OJ picture right here. That's him with the Bills.
One of the best running backs of all time, objectively.
But then it's mixed around with a Gatorade and like an old school. So when I got that, my friends were grilling me. Thoughts on that?
Well, see, again, it's I guess just a unique question.
It's not like the Sports Illustrated athlete or killer of the year, and it's him like holding a decapitated body like Dahmer.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would say that probably wouldn't play well, but I don't think it would. It's like OJ is a Hall of Famer. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is a Heisman Trophy winner. He's one of the best college running backs of all time. It is fair to say he is objectively one of the best running backs ever. But we just have to kind of pretend like he never played with what happened. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just that's a fact. We basically have erased him. He's got the Chris Benoit treatment of the NFL. The only difference is OJ's still playing on golf courses and making jokes about it, which is a little tough.
That's pretty savage. Which brings us to my next point. Let Pete Rose into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But we have strayed too far. Wally,
all-time hit leader.
Tampering period. Yeah, we on and off the field. It sounded like too. It's legal tampering period. It has been an absolutely insane day. The biggest thing is we are 12 months away from this, obviously, legal tampering period from last year, where it felt like running backs were just not getting paid. And today, the running back and the agents of said running backs were extremely busy. But before we dive into that, the not number one, but our number one Raiders fan has a reason to smile once again with a big signing of former Miami Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins to a 4-year, $110 million deal with just a hair under $85 million guaranteed. Adding a defensive lineman here with Max Crosby. I mean, take it away, Walter.
Finally. I mean, that's really the thing that I thought of immediately, because what was the conversation about Christian Wilkins going into free agency? There were like 4 teams, and the Raiders were not one of them that was listed. It was a total blindside and a terrific surprise, and it makes so much sense because who is Antonio Pierce? He's a guy that preaches toughness. He wants the Raiders to be bullies. I love it. We're back. That's what Raider football was for its entire history until about 2003. And it's just slowly died. It's been pathetic. The Raider way has disappeared. And you have to do tiny things like this. Not like this is a tiny move, but you need to start making like the trenches tough on both sides of the ball. And they were when Antonio Pierce was on the Giants that beat that Patriots team. And he wants to reduplicate that. He wants to be a bully mentality. And you put him opposite of Max Crosby. He's got to be the happiest person on earth right now. Because get a load of this, Stephen. I was doing a little digging earlier when this deal came about. The sack leader for the Raiders in all of Max Crosby's years, and you eliminate Max Crosby. Listen to these. Malcolm Kuntz, who, by the way, I was on the draft stage for when he got there. Not a big deal. 8 last year. 2022, 4.5 from Chandler Jones. 10 from Yannick Ngakoue in 21. 3 from Nicholas Morrow in 2020, and 7 from 2019 from Benson Mayowa. Like, this is a team that does not get sacks. Max Crosby is one of the best edges in all of football, but he can't do it alone. And you bring in someone like this, man, dude, I am fired up, Stephen. You can tell, but it's the first time in my life I've been excited to watch the Raiders play defense. Like, no, the game, we don't have to win 35-31 anymore.
Defense.
Yeah, this is...
Right?
I'm on top of the world, dude.
You want Mahomes now. Bring in Mahomes. Let's do it.
Did you remember what Max Crosby did in the Christmas locker room celebration where one of the guys started doing the "We want Mahomes" or whatever, and Max Crosby's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he just grabbed the phone and just no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. We ain't pissing him off.
No, come on. You need to know better. But the big thing that Wally keeps alluding to is this is a guy in Christian Wilkins that finished with 61 pressures last year, which is 7th in the NFL, while having the 5th most pressures while being double teamed at 18. This is a defensive tackle. The Raiders don't have a defensive tackle that's registered more than 30 pressures here last year, nor a pressure rate of 10% or greater. So you're going to add that, freeing up Mad Max. It's going to be interesting. And we know how much they love your linebacking room. What formation do you guys run? Do you guys run like a 4-3, 4-4?
Yeah. Yes, and that's what's going to be fun is they're going to be able to rotate Malcolm Kuntz in this as well. And he did come on to the scene last year where about November, all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, the Raiders have 2 pass rushers. Now they have 3. This is just like, it's so unusual. I feel like Evan Desker, our longtime Falcon listener, because he's always talking about not getting sacks. I'm always like right there with him. I'm like, man, I feel it. We're also, we had 3, like Nicholas Morrow in 2020. We're talking about the second leading sack guy on the team had 3 sacks, a linebacker.
Oh. And you're never going to be looking for sacks with Christian Wilkins, but expect Mad Max to get even more sacks. And you keep dropping that name. I don't know. That's a pretty insane name. You being able to get these names correct, but him coming off the other side, Morrow, is that what you said?
Nicholas Morrow, that was back in 2020. Be able to
open him up too, so it's gonna.
You're talking about Malcolm Kuntz. That's my bad. I thought you were talking. Kuntz. Yeah, there you go.
There it is, Malcolm Kuntz.
There he is.
So you better watch out.
Exciting times, Stephen. Very unusual for me to be this excited, but we got to see before Christian Wilkins got signed today. The story, kind of like you set up at the top of the show, was running backs, and we have seen for probably 5-10 years now, running backs are just getting dogged. They don't get paid once their first contract's up. It's basically, see ya. If you want to stay, it's hometown discount. And today, we finally kind of saw a little bit of veteran movement in the running back room where you got to see, I'm just going to list a few off from here, and we can talk about our favorites right after. DeAndre Swift went to Chicago. That was a total surprise. Yeah. Apparently, nobody likes Roschon Johnson but us. Tony Pollard is replacing Derrick Henry. Talk about a shock to the system for Titans fans. Saquon went to Philadelphia, which is definitely, I think, the most exciting today. But then we have to talk about, for you, your boy, Aaron Jones, after restructuring his deal, was released because the Packers went and got former Raider Josh Jacobs. And I've got a feeling that's where we got to start, just because you are a Packer fan. I'm a Raider fan. A lot of turnover here. What were your thoughts? Because it seems like you've been pissed off all day on Twitter about the Packers right now.
You know, I was literally had it loaded up, and I go, you know what? This could be the year I could walk back all of my Gutekunst hate, put my foot in my mouth, because I know he's gone in right in the draft here. Free agency, I don't think so as much. And then he goes and does this. You have heard me for, at this point, years. Wally longer than anyone else here I was listening, because we had 10 months before we started the podcast, so he had to hear it a little bit longer than you guys. Aaron Jones is the most disrespected running back to ever play for the Green Bay Packers. The numbers that he was able to put up, ranking third all time in rush yards, attempts, fourth all time in Packers history for touchdowns, and this dude barely got the rock. I mean, averaging north of 5 yards per carry during his career, and on top of that, he's incredibly clutch when we needed him. Multiple touchdown games when it comes to Dallas. If it's in the playoffs, if it's in the playoff push, him coming out of the backfield, catching clutch passes that when Aaron Rodgers was shutting down and only throwing to him and Devontae Adams, maybe Robert Tonyan sometimes. It just breaks my heart because I love Aaron Jones. That's somebody that we drafted in the 5th round here back in 2017. It's just, and watching him grow, and it just hurts. And it's not anything against Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a dog. I'm very interested to see what he's going to be like in LaFleur run-heavy offense that they have and how they're going to scheme him up. But it's two completely different running backs that we're dealing with here. And me being heartbroken for Aaron Jones leaving is going to overpower my excitement for Josh Jacobs landing in Green Bay.
And that's fair. I mean, you're talking about the 3rd highest rusher in Packer history. And since Amon Green, when we were growing up, who set the record, it really never felt like the Packers had a guy for more than a couple of years. It was that you run them into the ground while they're young, and then you let them disappear, and you never hear from them again in the NFL. And Aaron Jones, man, you saw it in that postseason run for them. He's got so much juice left in them legs. I'm excited to see where he goes. I saw there were rumors about Dallas. Feel like that would be an interesting spot. But Josh Jacobs will be good in Green Bay. I'm not worried about that. It's just, again, it was unique when you had a borderline star running back already, and then you kind of had to do all this shuffling. It makes you wonder if there were other things they could have been doing on day one of the tampering period instead of this. And it is what it is. It sucks. I feel bad for you.
The big thing that I'm looking at comparative yards, and it's at least since Josh Jacobs has came in the league. You have Aaron Jones, and this is since 2019. Aaron Jones had just a little bit north of 4,700 yards, 6th best. Josh Jacobs at just about 5,500, just a little bit less than 5,600. And that's with 46 rushing touchdowns. Both of those ranks are second in the NFL since 2019, compared to Aaron Jones's 33 rushing touchdowns in that span. This is the big difference for me. 237 receptions for 1,848 yards for Aaron Jones, both 5th and 4th. And okay, Josh Jacobs, 197 receptions, 8th best at just under 1,450 yards. That's okay. Maybe not the difference. 17 receiving touchdowns for Aaron Jones during that span. Josh Jacobs has never scored a receiving touchdown in the NFL. I think that
he's never had a receiving touchdown?
Never. I had to double check. I was like, no way.
That's crazy. I never in a million, because like he's not Aaron Jones out of the backfield, but no, like he was serviceable. So I mean that's wild.
And these numbers prove it. And it just them. That's what kind of scares me. Once you put the reception numbers up, I mean, Josh Jacobs has not only the biggest thing, which is the age. But he has the numbers to kind of back it up here a little bit. But at the same time, again, back to my argument, these numbers Aaron Jones is producing, not getting the ball nearly as much or as he should. If you put that up to Josh Jacobs' usage, I think Aaron Jones is blowing this kid out of the water. But nonetheless, younger running back, a year and a half removed from the rushing championship. He's coming off a year where he finished, literally had his yards slashed in half while only missing 3 or 4 games. So, but at the same time, we know with Josh McDaniels and the dysfunction that the offensive room had there in Vegas for most of that year.
Absolutely. And that's a great point because once you got Antonio Pierce, you got to see more of Josh Jacobs that we got used to. In that first year, ironically, with Josh McDaniels, remember how the talk was after the season is that he was getting voted as like the toughest running back to play against by players. So maybe even though we might not see it as much as fans, there might be a lot to be excited about. The Packers obviously really fell in love with Josh Jacobs. Hopefully it works out for you guys. But there are a couple other running back moves I wanted to just talk about briefly here with you. Let's start first with your division rival. I love Roschon Johnson. Not a big Khalil Herbert guy. What are the Bears doing paying an arm and a leg for DeAndre Swift?
Well, an arm and a leg, right? He's going to get $8 million.
For running backs, arm and a leg.
Yeah, well, compared to talking to Fonzie, the resident Bears fan here, he wanted Saquon, but obviously we'll get to Saquon's deal, and he's happy with DeAndre Swift. But DeAndre Swift had a career year. He's coming off career high in attempts and yards. He's coming off his first Pro Bowl as well. But at the same time, you got to kind of – the stats might be skewed based on the offensive line and the offense that he was playing in up there in Philadelphia. So heading back to the North, where now he gets to play his former team twice and the other 2 teams he's played quite often. It's interesting. You have the running back room. It fits both. If, I don't know, they end up keeping with Justin Fields, helping out the running game, or helping out the rookie quarterback that's most likely going to come in, Caleb Williams. It's a good pickup for the Bears, unfortunately.
See, I'm going to be the guy that's just pushing back because the talk about DeAndre Swift a couple years ago was his vision was bad. He was missing holes in Detroit. Last year, he goes to one of the best offensive lines, at least running offensive lines in all of football. I hope his numbers went big, but you're going to Chicago now where they've had offensive line problems. I wouldn't be shocked at all if you get more of the reverted back to 2021 DeAndre Swift. And if that happens, you're paying $8 million where he might not be the best running back on the team. I'm gonna keep banging my fist against the table for Roschon Johnson because I loved him at Texas. I think that he looked good last year in the little bit of time he had.
Me too. And I like Khalil Herbert. I like him coming out of the backfield when he's in those passing plays too, and especially when he was filling in. When Johnson was hurt, he's been a stud too. So yeah, they're almost pulling a Detroit and kind of having a super loaded running back room and just kind of figuring it out from there.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I was going to move on.
Yeah, I was going to go to Saquon.
No. We got to touch on Tony Pollard. Ended up going with the Tennessee Titans here. So Tajay Spear fantasy owners, he had a great 35 minutes before this kind of popped off. But Tony Pollard going to Tennessee instead of staying in Dallas. But he's going back. This is a Memphis kid. So going to Nashville was making sense here.
I feel like I'm coming out. You know, when you're growing up and sometimes you were like a little shit to your parents and you would just disagree for the sake of disagreeing. This is what it's going to sound like. Still do it is right. But I'm going to sound like I'm doing that right now. I think Tajay Spears is the best running back in Tennessee right now. I'm still not worried about Tony Pollard. I think you're going to see a very Detroit kind of 50-50 that they're going to try to incorporate there, which is good because if they're not giving up on Will Levis and that offensive line keeps getting better now with Bill Callahan too, get excited. Maybe you get a resurgence from Tony Pollard, but I love Tajay Spears. I'm buying in. I got all my Tajay Spears hype still. I'm buying the stock.
Oh God,
yeah, too much of it. Maybe it's because I have him in the Dynasty League, Stephen, so now I'm like willing it to happen.
You're bought in.
Exactly. So, but like, it's a very exciting running back room if you're going to lose Derrick Henry. I didn't expect to be excited, and I kind of am.
Well, let's get to it. Saquon moving, just going across the interstate, going to the Philadelphia Eagles, where now he gets to play his New York Giants twice a year. Do you think Jason Kelce wants to come out of retirement now after this?
Honestly, if he does, I want him to do another tank top hour-long press conference because that was electric. We'll get to that. We were off last week, but Jason Kelce's presser, one of the best ever. Talking about balls and dicks up there. It was a little off-brand, but also very much on-brand for Jason Kelce. So
no, it's on-brand. It's very on-brand. But now Saquon, DeAndre Swift is out. Saquon is now plugged into an offense with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that offensive line. Talk about scary. DeAndre Swift was able to put up career numbers. What is Saquon going to do behind that line?
Oh, I think that we're going to get as close this year to seeing the Saquon that we expected coming out of college, where we were talking like Barry Sanders kind of like hype. Like unreal for a running back hype. Like Bijan has it too, but those two are like unique. We have not seen that in our life, probably since Darren McFadden, and that blew up in my face. Yippee hooray. But, come on, Raiders. They were going to do that anyways. But I'm really, really optimistic that Saquon can be like a 1,700 yard guy next year and do it while kind of sharing reps like Philadelphia likes to do. I'm really, really excited for what Philadelphia did in that regard today.
I mean, D Swift still got, like I said, I think he missed like 3 or 4 games. He still had a little bit north of 230 attempts. So if you have Saquon, you're going to be able to utilize him. Saquon had the 5th most rushing yards over expected between the tackles last year. He also holds that same exact rank throughout his whole career since he came into the league in 2018. He's going to a team. I can't believe I'm actually reading this. He's going to a team in Philadelphia where their running backs gained a negative 164 rushing yards over expected on rushes between the tackles last year. Talk about a perfect fit. But another thing is, he's one of those guys falling underneath that category of like, can he stay healthy? The CMC, can he stay healthy? This dude's only missed like 7 games over his past 3 years coming back from that ACL. So now he's starting to be a little bit more durable than we were expecting. He's getting a scary good offensive line, which we're going to get to here at the end. But not only is he getting an offensive line, he's getting a quarterback, wide receivers, an offensive coordinator, a head coach, a winning culture, and he gets to go back home-ish a little bit. Cherry on top, like I said, he gets to play the Giants twice a year now.
Absolutely. The Eagles may have gotten weaker in the trenches, but when you bring in a guy like Saquon, that's hopefully the thing that can bridge that gap. And I think that's what Howie Roseman is betting on. Atlanta is betting on Kirk Cousins, though. And I tell you what, Stephen, we have to just start with the elephant in the room. I want Kirk Cousins in every business meeting, anything to do with money for the rest of my life. This guy is, he's like the James Bond. He's like the GOAT at these contract negotiations. 411 million real dollars in his career after this. I just blown away. But I guess let's talk about Atlanta too. Give me your thoughts. I mean, I feel like some people were expecting it, but at the same point, you heard a lot of Justin Fields to Atlanta. So
exactly.
We got the other way.
I didn't really start hearing this until it's like, hey, if they can't come with the deal, Minnesota and Kirk, then Atlanta's going to be calling. So once it hit that, once the clock struck noon, not midnight, it instantly went into like Kirk Cousins season in the Dirty Birds. And my God, I mean, this makes their offseason last year look even better with the offseason that they're doing this year. You're adding Kirk Cousins, arguably the only piece that you really need on that team to be competitive, especially in that NFC that seems to be wide open. But now you're going to get the ball to a guy who can get it to a Drake London, to your Kyle Pitts, to help out with your running back room and Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. I mean, my God, this is going to be such an interesting Falcons team, and we're both back on, right?
Oh, I'm back.
This is full circle. We're back in.
Wow. Well, good question. When you what are we saying when we're saying back in? We're saying like division favorites, not like anything beyond that, right?
Tell me, are they not top 3 in the NFC right now? On paper?
Well, I think without a doubt they're the NFC South strongest team now. I think
so that's at least top 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, top 4 in terms of like seeds, you know what I mean? Because like I'd take Dallas before him, San Francisco. I still think I would take a team like the Packers, like the Lions. I think you can make a case like the Eagles. Like the Falcons are stronger today than they were. Are they Super Bowl contenders? No.
No, but they are a healthy in between that.
Yeah, and they're a team that can win like 2 playoff games and like get to the NFC title game before losing to a San Francisco, to a Dallas, as if Dallas would ever be there. But you know what I'm saying.
What does Justin Jefferson do?
Good question. Who's the quarterback in Minnesota going to be? Are they going to get one of these rookie guys? Could they be in the Justin Fields sweepstakes?
What is Chicago really? Chicago's not going to trade within the division.
You would doubt it. You really would.
But I don't know. They're in such a weird position right now. I have no idea. I mean, Kevin O'Connell can't be happy.
No, but that also is part of the reason why I'm not as low, because I do believe in him and I believe in his offense. So even if this is a tough year, that I do think they will get it done. I really like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah as well. He's a really good GM. I think that they will get it figured out. It just might not be this year. They're in a weird spot right now.
But that is a 4-year, $180 million contract that Kirk Cousins is signing here with $50 million signing bonus. So Cousins is going to get $100 million guaranteed. That's $90 million between this year and 2025, and then $10 million in 2026. 35-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury. So I am very interested to see this. He's going to be 39 by the time that contract is over, in theory. Before, Atlanta Falcons were plus 5,000 odds to win the Super Bowl. After, plus 3,000. The people are clamoring, Wally.
30-1. Right, yeah, 30-1. I had to do math. Good job, Wally, math guy. Kirk Cousins, though, coming off that Achilles you just brought up, does that not worry you a little bit? Like, people don't come back at this age from that kind of injury.
Yeah, but the progression and not only medicine, but like the way these athletes are rehabbing and everything, and they're coming back stronger, and it almost seems like they're not missing a beat. Now, age, of course, I think is going to have something to play around. A lot of guaranteed money Kirk Cousins has had. So if you're not going to come back the same, at least not better, what's all this money for?
There was a South Park episode like 20 years ago, and it was the cure to AIDS was like $500,000 or something like that. So you have guys like Magic Johnson survive. Maybe it's the same thing where Kirk is worth about $500 million now that he's had in cold hard cash. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's just like the Bionicle Man at this point.
Exactly. Wally, let's talk extensions because we got a few.
Let's talk extensions. The first one's going to make me want to jump through my window here, but the Kansas City Chiefs yet again find a way to do it. Chris Jones signs a massive deal with the Chiefs. I mean, huge. And I'm so tired, dude. I'll let you talk about the actual numbers here in a second. It's just, I have to watch, like all of us do, him cry during the national anthem before he wins 4 massive playoff games every single year with the team I hate more than anything in the world. It's just, it's so exhausting. I am so exhausted. I hate that they have 100 Hall of Famers at a time in Kansas City. I don't know how they grow on trees. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, everybody can play better. It's not fair. It's not fair. And he's only 29, Stephen. Doesn't it feel like Chris Jones has been in the league for about 115 years now?
Yeah. Well, he's going to be at least 5 more years, at least in your Kansas City. 158.75 mil, 101 mil in guarantees. I mean, this is a guy who has 75.5 sacks since being drafted in 2016. That's pretty hard for the position that he's at, which is defensive tackle. He's the heartbeat of the Kansas City defense. We saw him sitting out those first few weeks this year and how much of a difference it made. When he's coming back, they understood the uphill battle Kansas City is going to have if they don't re-sign this Chris Jones, and if maybe they allotted the money to a L'Jarius Sneed, which is going to be a huge question mark right now. They ended up locking him up. If you got to win the trenches. That is something that we always talk about. This is how you do it. Chris Jones staying.
Yeah, the sigh it's exactly where I'm at. I mean, he was, to me, a lot of people are going to remember the Mecole Hardman walk-off Super Bowl winner. That makes sense. It's a walk-off Super Bowl winner. You're going to remember that. But the play that sticks out to me and will, I think, forever with this last Super Bowl, was at 3rd and 5 inside the red zone at the end of that game in overtime, where Chris Jones just blew up the inside of the. I don't even know if he was touched, but he just blew up the play. And he's that fast, and he's that much of a pocket pusher from the inside. It's invaluable. There's a reason we're watching guys like Aaron Donald, guys like Justin Madubuike, like all these guys making Christian Wilkins making $1 billion, having that interior pass rush. It's the most uncomfortable thing as a quarterback when the pressure is on you right up the middle before you even get set. That's invaluable. I hate that he's going to be there, but it's a hell of a move for Kansas City.
Well, we'll go to that and bounce back, but Justin Madubuike, like you said, that's a 4-year, $98 million extension with $75 million guaranteed, 53.5 at the signing, and you couple that with Jalen Johnson getting re-signed by Chicago Bears here with a 4-year extension at $76 million, 54, a little bit north of that million guaranteed. So the Ravens and the Chicago Bears keeping a couple of their draft picks here on extensions.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we saw, I guess even Michael Pittman, 3 now guys that were on the franchise tag signed deals in this last week or two. And it's something that we're seeing more and more, especially with the cap going up. A lot of these guys that were tagged, it was just hey, we have the money now. We might as well tag them and we can keep working for the extension. Because I don't think this is very usual, like that you get this many guys signed off the tag so soon after it was placed on them. And I mean, hell, you even have guys like L'Jarius Sneed and T. Higgins who are going to be tried to be traded or at least entertain that. So, I mean, it's a very different NFL that we're in right now. But to your point, what you were bringing up before, I mean, that's a massive retain or getting him back for Baltimore, where that defense looked a lot more like the Ray Lewis evil 2000 kind of defenses last year than we had seen. Did. And then, in the Bears, I mean,
can't get it done.
No, they can't. And we're going to keep, I'll never buy in again. They're going to have to prove it to me in the playoffs. You and I.
They have to win it. They have to win it all. They have to shove it down my throat.
Oh, and we're going to give them the opportunity because I know I'm going to be talking my talk just like I was before this last year when somehow I bought back in like the fool I am.
Oh, fool we are. I was just right there with you.
You and I, at least,
we knew
it.
Got duped. We got duped. But no, I mean, I think you spoke great about what the Ravens did. I mean, Chicago just keeps getting it right on the defensive side of the ball here over the past 2 off seasons. And if it's signing Terrell Edmonds, if it's re-signing a Jalen Johnson here, if it's trading for Montez Sweat halfway through the year. So defensively, they are just kind of putting it together here, which again makes me absolutely miserable. But for the professional side of it, it's great for Chicago.
Yeah, no, it's a really good move. Solid, just Ryan Polsey kind of, like you said, defense keeps getting better. Now, I guess all the eyes shift, and they have been shifted to what rookie? Is it going to be Caleb Williams like we all assume it will be? Because Justin Fields, I don't even care if they get like a 7th. I don't care how low the value is. They're going to have to move off of him.
At this point, and everyone knows that. He's going to go for a 5th round pick.
That's the thing. It's like teams almost now know that they have the Bears over a barrel. And if they were smart, they would have traded him before free agency. Because we're in the tampering period, obviously. This is free agency. Like, we're in free agency right now. Year has started. This is it. Fired up. But I like you gotta move off of Justin Fields, and I'm interested. I still think the Raiders, even with bringing in Gardner Minshew, I think they're still in the camp or one of the teams that makes sense to still go after Justin Fields.
I meant to bring that up too. I'm so happy that Gardner's there. I mean, him in Vegas, just an absolute electric couple right there. I think he fits that you're building perfectly. I'm so jealous. I'd want him as my starting quarterback.
I'll be thrilled. Like, here's the thing. Like, is he ever going to win you anything as a starter? No. But he's like a perfect stopgap for a year or two while you try to find your guy. Not to mention, in Vegas, with that guy, I mean, he can be such a fun personality in that town. And I'm excited. As far as backup/starters, I'm excited. I'm happy with the move. Mustache rides for days down there in Vegas.
Before we get into it, we do have some other running back news where we have Austin Eckler agreeing to a 2-year deal with the Washington Commanders with the deal that can get up to less than $12 million in total.
Oh God. Oh.
Yeah, that's just absolutely brutal. So that leaves Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry as the only really two serviceable running backs that are left here on the market. I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more here. I do have some other news we'll be able to break here in just a few more minutes because it will line up perfectly. Before we do that, in the NFC South, my goodness, a little bit of the Bucs talk here. Fire the cannons, boys. Not only is Baker Mayfield on his way back, but over the weekend they had to re-sign their legendary wide receiver to Mike Evans to be staying in Tampa Bay. Baker's getting a 3-year, $100 million contract that can get up to $115 million, 50 of that guaranteed, while Mike Evans is walking out of there with a 2-year, $52 million contract, keeping him in Tampa Bay at least a couple more years. Wally, how jazzed are you for this?
I can't remember being so happy to be wrong. I know that about a month ago, David brought up the idea that he could kind of make Geno money if I remember where he was at. And I thought he was crazy. I just simply put, I love Baker, but I thought that you were going to get more of like a 2-year, $30 to $40 million deal. He made out. This is awesome, and I'm happy. Yeah. $3 million he made last year. He bet on himself, and he's put himself back on NFL starting quarterback for a career trajectory, and thank God for that. But Mike Evans, that's the one that really got me fired up. I'm sure the same with you, but it's so cool when you get to watch players stay in one place their whole career, especially a guy like Mike Evans. City. Yeah, that would have. You want to talk about? I would have been pushing for like no Hall of Fame purely on like my disgust.
Yeah, but just purely out of pure hatred.
Yeah, well, and he's worn me down on that front too, because we had that conversation 2 or 3 years ago, and I was very anti get him in because I kind of feel like he's receiver Frank Gore, really good, just very durable, so he's stacking up like statistics. But at some point, it's like, God, this guy's doing what no one's ever done. Yeah, and it's like he's doing what people have never done. He's literally done what no one's ever done with starting his career with 1,000-yard seasons. At some point, he's worn me down, and you know what? That's fine. I'll let him have their Hall of Famer. But I had a question for you. Just a few minutes ago, it was hit me. Is he the best Bucs wide receiver ever? Because I can't place another one in my head that would be better than him.
Like, it wouldn't be, obviously not Keyshawn Johnson. Like, I'm trying to think of their wide receivers.
Like Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, he was only a few years, though. Like, he was kind of the last, 6 years of his career, right? R.A.P. to Vincent Jackson, by the way.
True. And then A.B., ESCT, wait, CT ESPN? Is that what he goes by now?
Yeah, Antonio Brown. Yeah, he only had a couple of years with them.
Super Bowl champion.
He might, because we know how bad those Buccaneers were in the 80s, late 90s, or I guess in the late 90s, early 2000s, they turned it around. But since then, it's got to be Mike Evans, right?
I think so, and that's cool too. So to have him locked up for 2 years, no, I mean it's like you have your guy locked up. Where we just talked about at the top of the show the Aaron Jones thing and how that gutted you. We talked about Khalil Mack, how that gutted me. Certain guys, it's like you want to see play their career with a team. And Mike Evans fits that mold perfectly. Hall of Fame type guy. And you know what? He and Baker, they have a connection. They got a lot of chemistry. I'm excited to watch them again this next year.
Well, that's a great segue that you gave me. Talking about not only absolute legends that got to play for their team their entire career, but they both go off walking into the sunset, and not only Jason Kelce, but on the other side of the trenches, Fletcher Cox, both calling it a career after spending it the entire time there in Philadelphia. It just doesn't sit right with me.
No, and it's been a really weird off season for the Birds. It just feels like there's just so much going on where your head coach, his job was, he was talking shit to Kansas City after a big win, and we were talking about, oh my God, the Eagles are going to do it again. They're going to be the best team in the NFC. And
little did we know that was the start of their collapse.
Yeah, 6 weeks later, we were wondering if he was still going to have a job. And then you have the big Dom weirdness, that stuff. You have 2 Hall of Famers retire like this. Then you bring in Saquon Barkley. We'll talk about Landon Dickerson. He just got a massive extension with them too. Just a very bizarre looking offseason for this team. And I mean, it's partly why you go offensive line and defensive line heavy in the draft like they have, so that you're in a position to, I guess, weather the storm here. Because, I mean, this is the heart and soul of your team. Those are the two guys that you think of Philadelphia when you think of them. Imagine if they lost Brandon Graham, too. It's like, what are we doing here?
Exactly. Ooh, he's back on a 1-year deal. But Landon Dickerson, like you said, extended on a 4-year, $84 million contract. That can max out up to an $87 million contract with $50 million of that guaranteed. So they have him. Cam Jurgens is going to step in here.
My boy.
Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a step back from Jason Kelsey. But at the end of the day, they still got playmakers, and they still got dudes up there on that offensive line in Philadelphia. You added the talent that they did with Saquon Barkley, it's almost going to feel like they're not missing a beat.
Perfectly said. It's just, like, is this team better now than they were at the end of last season? I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I think the Vic Fangio.
They were bad. They were bad last year.
They were, but like having Vic Fangio coming in, I think is the most exciting. Like, I think the Saquon thing, awesome and really, really intriguing. Moore. Yeah, it's just, see, I don't know. I go back to my like talking shit on Kellen Moore. I feel like every time we bring him up, I'm just like, I don't know where the sex appeal is with this guy, but whatever. Good luck, Eagles. I just don't buy it. They're a 10-11 win team for me. That's not going anywhere.
Before we get to the rapid fire section, we want to remind you that this week's Tampering Period is brought to you by Abby Turner Creative, your one-stop shop marketing agency specializing in branding, high-end photography, fashion, and more. Especially if you're our age, what feels like there's a college graduations, baby pictures, engagements, birthdays, you name it, happening every weekend. Abby Turner Creative is the only way to go. Check it out for yourself at abbyturnerphoto.com. That's Abby, ABBEY, or on her Instagram at Sawdad and Sapphire. Again, abbyturnerphoto.com. I do want to take a couple seconds here to kind of address some things with actually Miss Abby Turner. If you follow her or look at her on the IG, why don't you give her a shout out and give her some love? Unfortunately, her mother had passed away around this time last week after another battle with cancer, and she has been jumping through hoops and getting everything together. Actually made it up to Toledo to go see them at the wake, and it's heartbreaking. It's a big family, and if you know Abby, she is one of the best humans that you'll ever meet in your life. So it's just it's very unfortunate. Thoughts, prayers go out to Abby, her siblings, that whole entire family. Would you like to add anything, Wally?
Well, it's just you hit it perfectly. I mean, Abby's one of the nicest people I've ever met, and I haven't even met her in person yet, and I feel like she's part of the family, and that is a testament to how she was raised. And Abby's an amazing woman, and it's probably because her mother was an amazing woman too. And we're thinking about them, and we love you guys. And you need anything at all, you guys know we got you.
So we'll be getting to the rapid fire here. We had a couple of veterans that were released. Some were able to cross off this list, but some had you scratching your head, like Alexander Madsen from the Vikings, Kevin Byner, J.C. Jackson, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons, Pat Peterson, and of course, Wally's favorite, the pride, the take pride on this, because my God, you had such a hot take 2 years ago, just that you had to sit here and bite your tongue up until this point. But Russell Wilson getting released, how phenomenal did that feel calling that?
Oh, and not only did I get the call that the Broncos were going to faceplant with Russell Wilson, now I get to watch them take on more dead cap than any team has ever done for an individual player. And it's more than 2 times the amount that it was for Atlanta and Matt Ryan. And that's another guy that I also had like a weird vendetta. And then it's like, they're good people. Nothing against the human beings. It's that I just didn't see what everybody wanted to. And he's in Pittsburgh. It feels like a good fit just because there's no risk. $1.2 million. And at least, I mean, I'm trying to talk myself into it, Stephen, but it's Russell Wilson. Rinse and repeat, 10-7 first round exit, Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, welcome to hell. That you have just
Mr. Any different than what they're doing?
How's
that any different than what Pittsburgh's been doing? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, is he different? Like, do you not think he's like just like maybe a click above Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky. Maybe.
He's a couple clicks.
Maybe I'm a hater.
He had a way better I mean, that you definitely have a sprinkle of that. He had a pretty decent year ending out last year, especially comparative to his first one.
0-2 against
let
Raiders.
Let him get in there. He's able, but you're going to put him back into an offense that wants to run the ball, that wants to bolster the offensive line and get back to essentially what Russell really made his killing on. He has some playmakers to be able to get the ball out to. We'll see. Deontay Johnson apparently has been given permission to seek a trade if that's the route he wants to go. I wouldn't necessarily want to go that if George Pickens is my true number one, with God knows who else is going to be out there with them. It's interesting. It's interesting. The biggest thing on here is the safeties are the running backs of this year.
Yeah. It's a good way to talk, word it. They've been kind of just thrown around, like dime a dozen. Not a big deal. Release them.
Yeah, you got JC, or secondary. Kevin Byard, I was very surprised about for Philadelphia trading for that guy. I was expecting him to re-sign because of the struggles they've had in the secondary. Only for him to walk in now he's signed with Chicago. So adding veteran depth there at the safety position in Chicago.
Yeah, no, it was interesting to say the least. I just think that it's a testament to how poorly that rest of the season went last year, that maybe they're just like, hey, you know what? We're just going to almost scrap this and just start over.
Yeah.
Which makes
sense.
Yeah.
We had some franchise tags here. Michael Pittman was talked about, but he has a 3-year up to $71.5 million contract extension that he signed with the Indianapolis Colts, with $46 million of that guaranteed. You have Kyle Duggar, who ends up getting the transitional tag, Antoine Winfield, Josh Allen, L'Jarius Sneed, T. Higgins, and Brian Burns, who no longer needs the franchise tag. Is the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants have come to an agreement to send Brian Burns up to New York.
No way.
In exchange. Oh, yeah.
The G-Men?
The G-Men.
Wow.
Wait.
Wow, that's fun with Kayvon Thibodeau, too. Oh.
I'm looking up the numbers here. This came in after the blockbuster trade for star Brian Burns.
I have NFL Network on literally to my left. I don't know how I haven't caught this until right now.
The Giants traded away Leonard Williams and then acquired Brian Burns for basically the same compensation, 2nd and 5th round picks. So it sounds like a 2nd and a 5th went. They get Brian Burns.
Worst trade of all time is the one that never happened, right? Where Les Snead was wanting to give up, I want to say multiple first for Brian Burns. And the Panthers were like, actually, we're good. Don't worry about it. We're just going to hold on to our little guy. Wow.
Yep. So now we got that going for us.
Wow. Well, see, the thing I wanted to bring up at first is just because I when I was looking at this list, and initially it was 9 players that were tagged. We talked about how now there's been 4 players that have signed deals. One of them moved. Probably going to have 2 more because L'Jarius Sneed and T. Higgins are also asking for trades. Who is the most indispensable of these players here that got the franchise tag last week?
I'm looking at Antoine Winfield, and it's simply because, and now this looks even better. I put this on before the Carlton Davis trade happened here earlier, the cornerback for Tampa Bay who ends up getting traded away. You've got to keep Antoine Winfield because that secondary has just been diminished over the past couple of years. Sean Murphy-Bunting, who spent his time in Tampa Bay, last year in Tennessee, now on a 3-year deal in Arizona. You're going to lose. You just lost. I'm already losing track. Sean Murphy-Bunting just throws my mind into a pretzel. That's way too many. That's way too many names.
You can't be throwing hyphenations in names and have us remember you, man.
Yeah, dude. That fucks up. But you need to keep Antoine Winfield. That's a unit that you struggled with a lot. You just need to have some sort of secondary piece, and at least a safety in it is what you're going to be looking at. I think you got to prioritize getting him back if you're locking up that offense, because locking up your offensive stars means nothing if you can't stop anybody on the defensive side.
I think my pick would have been L'Jarius Sneed, just because we saw last year the Chiefs defense unquestionably the best they've ever been with Pat Mahomes there. And L'Jarius Sneed was such a huge part of that. He eliminated wide receivers last year in that playoff run. And if they can find a way to make it make sense, I'm a lot more afraid of Kansas City when their defense is good in the pass, front to back. Chris Jones up front, you get guys like that in the back end. I mean, you don't have to score more than 20 some odd points to win games. And you have Patrick Mahomes. I'm tired. All right. Tell you whatever. I'm done with them.
Well, we have the combine this past weekend too, so that's a little bit. This is right up your neck of the woods here, Wally. Who's a winner, who's a loser you got from the NFL draft?
The biggest winner to me is Joe Alt. And there's two reasons for that. Because this tackle class in free agency is worthless. There's no one out there right now that is worth anything other than maybe like a Tyron Smith. And it's like, are you going to be paying 35-year-old Tyron Smith with health issues a big deal?
Or David Bakhtiari now.
Exactly. And it's like those guys, when they're on the field, awesome. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Famer in Tyron Smith. And David Bakhtiari was probably on the fast track if it wasn't for all the injuries he had. Very disappointed. But Joe Alt is a part of a just superhuman offensive tackle class. We're going to see 5 guys go in the first round, and like deservedly. You know, sometimes they get pushed up on need. Not this year. This is a really deep tackle class. And Joe Alt, I'm going to start like blushing. I've got like a man crush on this guy. 6'8", long. And not only 6'8" and long, we're talking athletic. This guy was a freak at this combine. He got himself for sure into the top. I think right after the quarterback run at the beginning, you're going to have like the Marvin Harrison's Joe Alt. And I that's so fired up for that. Loser, got to be Drake May. He was going into this combine with people talking about, hey, is there an outside shot? This guy can be the number 1 overall pick. Or maybe at worst, second or third. Now you have guys like J.J. McCarthy jumping past Drake May. Uh-oh, Stephan got his big eyes over there. Did something just happen in the NFL that we have to know?
We just got the contract for Brian Burns. Looks like a 5-year deal worth $150 million max with $87.5 million guaranteed.
Sounds.
Carolina sends Burns to New York for a 2nd and a 5th rounder.
Wow, yeah, that sounds actually
fleeced.
Yeah, that's a and that's a good deal. The way, especially Cap's going to keep going up too. In 2 years, you're going to be like, oh my God, we have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau at an affordable rate. I would be thrilled if I'm a Giants fan over that. Not a lot of other good things.
Well, that's when you got to pay. That's when you got to pay Thibodeau here.
True. That is true. But yeah, like losers, Drake May. I think that there's a real chance that he's the guy, like the Will Levis of this draft, that falls out of the first round after everybody's was really high up to this point. He's going to fall. I think he's going to fall.
Your picks are probably going to be a little bit better than mine. I'm not a big combine guy. I just like to watch the freaks of nature, but then I kind of lose sight because there's so many people. That's right up in your alley. My winner's Xavier Worthy. Obviously, he set the 40 record here in the NFL Combine and officially a 4.21. He's a winner because that's automatically gonna skyrocket him up the draft boards. So shout out to him. And he's also had some pretty damn solid seasons. I don't think he's ever had less than like 60 receptions for 760 yards in his entire college career. Only 3 years, and the best one he had was this year. So shout out to him. Loser is Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Just because he walked in and then he found out he had a Jones fracture in his foot. So someone who's looking like a first-round pick might be having question marks and be losing out, unfortunately, on a couple dollars. But I don't know. We've seen players get drafted up at this point and just rehab.
Yeah. Well, but the guy that stands out to me, and it's not a corner, but you got to see Nakobe Dean, who was at Georgia, fall into, I believe it was the second round before the Eagles got him, where he was like a top 15 lock going into the draft. Everybody was fired up. And injury concerns, all of a sudden, he was on the board at like 45, 50, similar to with what the Browns did with JOK a couple years ago, too. I hope it's not the case for him. He, like you said, was for sure felt like a first-round pick. And Stephan, I'm sorry. I promise I'll let it go after this or just drop it. But for like the 100 of people that sent me the Raiders are going to take Xavier Worthy, we get it. They like fast guys. I get it. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, they're going to draft Xavier Worthy. I hate you all. Each and every one of you.
Just let the man live.
Just let me live.
Some interesting trades Some interesting trades happening. The first one, because I want to go a little bit more in depth to this other one, but first one I want to talk about, Jerry Jeudy getting sent from Denver to the Cleveland Browns for a 5th and a 6th round pick, now being the number 2 wide receiver to Amari Cooper here, possibly the third option behind David Njoku. What do you think about this addition to the wide receiver room up in Cleveland?
I don't think that he's special, but I think that he can be an awesome complement to Amari Cooper. It's almost like, to me, I always thought Amari was kind of like a 1B, and you're going to probably have a really good 2 with Jerry Jeudy now, assuming Deshaun Watson can actually get him the ball. If anything, the only thing it told me is that I like Andrew Berry more every time he makes a move. He's so deliberate. He's made the comment, and I love it, where it's just like, we're going to make a conscious, concerted effort to keep getting better. And he lives that, and he always seems to be on the prowl and ready to do something like this. So even though I don't think it changes a ton for either team, I do like the message it sends.
No, for sure. And this is also coming off a new 2-year contract here for Zadarius Smith to return to the defensive side of the ball, which I'm sure they love hearing up in Cleveland. But the biggest shocker in the busiest team here this weekend up until this point, especially in the legal tampering period, the Jacksonville Jaguars bring back the hometown kid in Mac Jones, trading a 6th round pick to the Patriots to bring Mac to Duval. What is going on?
I actually think I love this trade for Jacksonville, because we saw last year, Stephen, 66 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. What does that mean? Over, for math people out there, that's over 2 on average per team that had to start last year. Injuries happen, especially now that the seasons are getting longer. There's talk about going to 18 games soon. It's like, you need to start paying your backup quarterbacks money, because otherwise, if they're gone 6 or 7 weeks, I mean, your season's over. If you're throwing out whatever the freaking arm wrestler's son kid, Cody Bajan or Tyson Bajan or whatever, like, you're going to lose your seasons. That's how it happens. You have to have backups. It's why everybody, and you included, are like, wow, Raiders like got Gardner Minshew. That's a starter. I'm not sold that they aren't still looking. I think this is going to be a new wave where people have almost like a backup starter. You know what I mean? Where it's like a higher end backup.
Yeah, exactly. Because like it used to be like, you used to be very worried when your backup quarterback came in, but now it's like, oh, okay, this guy, Jacoby Brissett's coming in, perfect. Oh, Gardner Minshew's coming in, okay, I'm feeling fine. Oh, we just picked Baker up, cool. Like, we can put him obviously when he wasn't the starter. No, that is huge. It's just so interesting to me, because does it give you a vibe of, hey, Trevor, we got to put some pressure on you. Like, this is a guy that's, we came back and won that playoff game, but 4 interceptions the first playoff game. We just had a massive collapse this offseason, to your point, or during the regular season. To your point, is because they were trotting Trevor Lawrence out there when he was extremely injured with that high ankle sprain. So maybe a quarterback or an option like this is going to be able to bring them in and be like, you know what, let's get you to sit. We have a lot of trust in Mac. Let's get him to play. And of course, you know me, I love me some Doug Peterson, the quarterback and backup quarterback, mostly backup quarterback whisperer.
I like that. See, I think it's just like dream backup. I think they're still so in on Trevor Lawrence that this is just, hey, if something happens, we're not going to rush you back. I mean, we saw what happened last year when Lawrence got hurt and they tried to come back. That season fell apart. Was it CJ Beathard?
No,
that they had? I mean, What are we doing here?
Yeah. And they learned real quick, because like you said, they're one of the teams dealing with it. New kickoff rule, XFL-like proposal here with the NFL. You know what? I'm pissed because I had the rules up.
Oh, that's all right. I'm ready if you need
it. I got them right here.
There you go, baby.
Okay. So what the rules are looking like here are the onside kicks. Teams can attempt onside kicks only in the 4th quarter and if they are trailing. The kick return teams would line up on the receiving team's 40 and 35-yard line, respectively. Neither team could leave on the kickoff until the ball reaches the target zone, which is the 20-yard line to the goal line. Now, this is similar to the XFL, and this is where it gets really, really weird, Wally. The touchbacks. Team will get the ball at the 35-yard line if the ball is kicked into the end zone, but they'll get the ball at the 20-yard line if the ball is kicked within that target zone and ends up rolling into the end zone. Is this like a lock? Is this actually happening?
It might. If it doesn't happen this year, I do think it's a lock to happen next year. They're trying so hard to make this a safer play, and you're taking full speed, like 50-yard sprint collisions out. I get it. But I heard Bill Belichick say it last year, and I kind of agree with it. It's like, if you're going to adjust it too much, just get rid of it. Because I understand it's a boring play right now, and that's why they're wanting to change it. It's just like, everybody's getting touchbacks. This way, the way they do it with the 35-yard line, you would imagine that they're going to, the kickoffs are going to be almost eliminated because everybody's going to kick it. Yeah. When you're going to see those, like, the old school, I think of Urban Meyer at Ohio State, but I'm sure other people did it first, where it's like deliberately you kick it to like the 5 in a corner. And you're going to see things like that. I'm a caveman though, Stephen. I don't like change, so naturally I'm going to bitch and moan about this.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan on these either. You know, we keep changing the kickoff and the rules, and I get it. I get it that it's for player safety and the velocity a lot of these players are playing with, and like a good amount of these players, this is one of the 3 times that they're going to be out on the field if it's special teams. So yeah, they are literally going to go out there and try to kill you. If you played football at any level, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I get it from that point. But if it's going to cause a little bit more finesse in the kicking game, I'm all for it. Because that's another aspect that's getting heightened at least. You're not fully taking away the special teams aspect. You're heightening it and making it more of a chess match than it's ever been. So I'll take it on there. The 35-yard line is a little bit ridiculous to me.
I mean, it's the kickoff out of bounds.
Unless you take the kickoff out of bounds and move it from the 40. If they take that out completely, then there might be a conversation. Yeah, so you can pin them like a punt. But then that's all they're gonna do.
Like, dude, like I know that like the pitch clock in baseball worked. I know that the 3-point line in the NBA was awesome. I know Martin Brodor's trapezoid rule in hockey is great too. Like, I get that change can be good. I need it to literally be like punching me in the face, telling me like, oh shit, this is actually good before I'll admit it.
I did like the pitch clock a little bit.
Me too. Damn it, I really did. Yeah, regrettably.
Did you have beef about that?
Yeah, because I'm an idiot, and because I just want like there's something special about being at a game where it's unique to other sports, and it's just like I was worried that was going to be taken away, and after about a month of last year, I realized I was like the biggest clown on earth. I'm like, this is the greatest thing.
You just need to get your mental timing right, because that's the best thing is like, oh, okay, pitch is done. Cool. I can do this, that, and the other. Shoot the shit. Eat, take a couple bites of my dog. Oh, cool. We're back in action. You just need to mentally discipline yourself to look every 20 seconds as opposed to every 35 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's just like I could have beer up until the 7th inning, and that was like 3 hours. You can get buckled at a game. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, this is hell. Like, what do I do? Like, I gotta like be thrown back.
They still cut off at the 7th inning.
I think it's the 8th, but it's like with how fast it's going, it's like still 20 or 30 minutes ahead. It feels like it's another beer,
That's
Stephen.
Hey. You don't have to explain yourself to me.
I appreciate that. Last thing we have for you guys today, we just wanted to bring up because everybody by now would have seen it, but we lost Chris Mortensen this last week, and he was a huge part of all of our adolescence, all of our childhoods. Even like our parents' childhood, like this guy was like the original insider. 1991, he took over, and the reason we have Ian Rappaport, the reason we have NFL Frenzy, we're sitting here watching NFL Network right now, is because of guys like Chris Mortensen. So I just wanted to at least bring it up because Chris was the man. It sounds like he was an unbelievable human being too. And all of football world is hurting on that loss.
Yeah, and it's becoming more relevant. We feel like we're losing a lot of these almost idols that we grew up with. If it's looking at SportsCenter, watching Top 10, or watching SportsCenter 6 episodes back to back up until they finally get the new one from the morning to the afternoon.
Yep.
Watching certain guys, and Mort was definitely one of those guys, gravitating towards football a lot too. Like, he was one of those big faces, so he is going to be missed. He is deeply going to be missed, and my childhood's not the same.
Absolutely. Perfectly said.
With that will bring us to an end of another episode of Loss of Down. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Loss of Down. Retweet us on Twitter /X _loss. Remember, this episode is brought to you by Abby Turner Creative, as well as the Bridger Nation Podcast Network, a division of Snapmere Productions. Any parting words for the people?
Just a couple quick things. Remember, deals aren't official until Wednesday, because we see it every now and then where people get burned. And like Lob City, other than Blake Griffin,
it was be Josh Jacobs.
DeAndre, what was it? Jordan? DeAndre Jordan was with the.
Yep.
Okay, I want to make sure I didn't get that wrong. But he signed like a big deal, or verbally agreed to sign a big deal, and then backed out like 24 hours later and went back to Dallas. And just be prepared.
LA, but yeah.
Was it LA? Was it going to Dallas that he backed out of?
It was going to Dallas, yeah.
Okay, see, that tells you where I'm at.
The whole Clippers team, whole Clippers team came to his house and like locked him in. They're like, "Nah, you ain't leaving, bitch."
He's like, "I don't know what to do. They're bullying me." All right, well,
it's like, all right, as long as I get paid, I don't care.
It's just pray it doesn't happen to your team, or if you're Stephen, pray it happens to your team. But I mean, Cliff Kingsbury already did this to the Raiders about a month ago. If I have it happen with Christian Wilkins, I might just not be on the show anymore. I think that might be when I quit.
March of 2021, a 26-year-old running back in Green Bay named Aaron Jones signs a 4-year, $48 million extension with $13 million guaranteed. March 11th, 2024, a 26-year-old running back named Josh Jacobs signs a 4-year, $48 million contract to play running back in Green Bay with $12.5 million guaranteed. Running back market in a nutshell.
I feel bad for you that your boy's gone, but I also can like close my eyes and envision in 6 months you're up here being like, "Dude, Josh Jacobs is freaking awesome. I love this guy."
And it's not even that. It's just the principle of just every domino that's fallen where I'm like, dude, give this dude the ball. Give this dude the ball. See what happens when we give him the ball? Look how much we're winning. God, I love him. Look at him restructuring his contract to come back. Give this dude the ball. Look how he's destroying Chicago. Oh, he gets hurt. That sucks. Man, our team sucks. Oh, he's back. We're good all of a sudden. I love this dude. He's restructuring again to come back. God, I love him. What do you mean Josh Jacobs is getting signed by Green Bay? Oh, cool. We have an amazing running back tandem. What do you mean we're releasing Aaron Jones? It's been miserable.
Well, and I remember back last year during, I think it was the pre-draft or combine era, he went on around the NFL and did a interview with them. And I heard, you could hear it in his voice, how he's like, "I want to be the Packers' all-time leading rusher. I want to be a Packer for life. I want to be here." And when you have guys like that, it hurts to lose because you know that they were bought in.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just a leader of a veteran or of a super, super young team. And now they only get younger here because the running back position was the oldest one that they had. And you take David Bakhtiari off that list too. So it's...
Yeah. Last thing I have, as many of you guys would know, we had our kind of like State of the Union thing last week. The three of us went awesome. We're really fired up for the year. But this is possibly the last dance. We all kind of agreed, like, we're putting a lot of work into this. We need to grow this year, and if we don't, we're going to have to hang it up after the Super Bowl next year. So that falls on you guys, too. If you love this at all, you want us to keep doing it, come on, boys. Come on, fellas. We got to start pumping this out there. So we're excited, and I can already feel the energy with Steve and I. Very motivated. David's fired up, too. He will be back Thursday. He had to work little emergency tonight.
Nerd.
Imagine that. Having work at 6. What a guy. I'm just kidding. I love you, David.
God, I fucking hate work.
I do too.
Yeah, guys, pump us up. I'm trying to retire. At least do this.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, we love you guys. We just had to tell you. Love you, Gardner Minshew, too. Never forget that. Future possible starter.
Oh, my God, dude. Future Hall of Famer, I think.
Raider Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. Rich Gannon, Gardner Minshew, Charles Woodson,
Kenny Stabler,
yeah.
Jimmy Plunkett.
Yep.
Oh, we're locked.
John Madden.
Hell yeah.
He might be the quarterback of the All Raiders team if he keeps it up.
I'm already ready.
Play up from last year.
Yeah, just take us back to playoffs. That's all. We have such a low bar right now. Just get me to the playoffs. I will defend you for the rest of your life.
The playoffs in the AFC is hard to get to.
True. I mean, the Raiders have proven that for the last 20 years, haven't they?